Okay, today we're going to talk about order of operations using negative and positive numbers. Now, these aren't just integers. They can be any negative or positive numbers. Doesn't make a difference. This is kind of a new concept because we haven't done a lot with negatives and positives in order of operations all together at one time. Here's an example that I'd like you to write down. Now, I need to have all the examples written down because I'm using different examples to illustrate different things. So be sure as I give you examples that you write them down. The first example here is negative 3 plus, and this is the quantity negative 3 times negative 3 minus, and then this is actually like a division problem of negative 3 divided by 3. Well, to solve this problem, we're going to, it's an expression, I guess, we're going to depend on three things. The first thing, of course, is PEMDAS. And PEMDAS is the order of operations. The second thing that we will record, or work on, is negative and positive rules. And you have to know their negatives and positive rules to be able to work with this. This is negative, positives, and addition and subtraction. Okay? Negative plus a negative will be a negative, a positive plus a positive will be a positive. A negative plus a positive or a positive plus a negative, you're going to subtract and take the sign of the larger number. Then over here, this is multiplication and actually division as well. A negative times a negative is a positive times a positive is a positive. If you mix the two up, negative times positive, positive times negative, and of course we're saying division 2 here, you're going to get a negative answer. The other thing that we use quite a bit to solve these types of expressions are the commutative and associative property. And remember, the commutative property just says you can change the order, and the associative property says that you can group them differently. And so we change the order first and then we regroup. So on this very first one, is still looking at the same example. We have negative 3 plus negative 3 times negative 3 minus negative 3 divided by 3. Now, this 3 right here, we're going to assume it's positive. I'll put a plus there just so you remember. And we will use PEMDAS. We'll go left to right, and we'll do what's in parentheses first. And we will do the multiplication or division first before we do addition or subtraction. So this negative 3 stays the same. And you're going to multiply negative 3 times negative 3. And remember up here it said a negative times a negative is a positive. So we end up with negative 3 plus positive 9 minus a negative 1, because this negative 3 divided by a positive 3, negative divided by a positive equals a negative. And so this ends up to be a negative 1 right here. I didn't change this at all. I just left it the same. Now, we end up with negative 3 plus 9. Now, two negatives in a row make a, positive. So we end up with negative 3 plus 9 plus 1, which ends up to be negative 3 plus 10, which ends up to be 7. Because if you add a negative and a positive, you're going to subtract and take the sign of the larger number. Okay, that's the first example I wanted to show you. Now, there are two more examples. I need you to write them all down. Example 2 looks like this, okay? We have negative 2 times the quantity, and whenever you have parentheses, I'm going to say times the quantity of negative 3 minus, and then you've got negative 4 times negative 5. And then there's the end of your parentheses. That's given. That's what you're given. Okay? Now, because we need to do what's inside the parentheses first, because of PEMDAS, and because multiplication comes before addition or subtraction, we're going to multiply these two. And we know a negative times a negative is a positive. So negative 5 times negative 4 gives you a positive 20. So I left it in parentheses, positive 20. Now you're still dealing with the parentheses. You have a negative 2 times the quantity, negative 3. And then you'll notice right here I made a change. This was minus 20 up here. Now I've changed it to plus a minus. I just took that negative and I put it over here. So negative 3 plus a minus 20. So now you have two negatives inside those parentheses. A negative 3 plus a negative 20 is a negative 23. So now you have negative 2 times the quantity, negative 23. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive, so your answer is a positive 46. And over here is just a little extra note, and I'd really like you to write this into your notes, okay? Note that negative 3 minus 20 is the same as negative 3 plus a negative 20. And this will come up again a little bit farther into your note taking, and hopefully you'll get that all figured out. That's not a hard concept. Okay, last example. Okay, we have example 3, negative 3 times a negative 2 minus 5 times 2 plus 3 times a negative 4. And this is different than the other one, that's why I want them all written down. So we start working left to right because there's no parentheses really inside, no exponents. So we go here and we're going to do this one first. Negative 3 times the negative 2 gives you a positive 6. Then we're going to go to the next one. Minus 5 times 2 is 10. And then we do the next one. And we're going to work on this one. 6 minus 10 plus 3 times a negative 4. And that gives you a negative 12. Now we're done doing all of our multiplication. Now, I would love to see you see that we can rewrite this one as plus a negative 10. Okay, so now we have 6, which is positive, but we have a negative 10 and a negative 12. So we're going to add the negative 10 and the negative 12 together. And we end up with 6 plus negative 22. Okay, negative plus a negative is a negative. And we have a positive plus a negative, so you subtract to take the sign of the larger number. And you're going to end up with 22 minus 6, which is 16. And it's negative because this 22 is negative. And so your answer is negative. And that's all I have to say about that. So if you have any questions, please be sure to ask. Have a great day.